real world, we all labour under the tyranny of cause and effect, where a single bad decision can haunt you for the rest of your life.
Hey, keep it light.
Never! Likewise in the world of video games, where your actions have consequences and some small, seemingly trivial actions can have major consequences that won't become clear until much later, when you learn that you've ruined your entire playthrough. Womp womp. We consider it a public service to warn you about these 7 ways you can ruin your game with a single early bad decision, and also about spoilers for these following games. Yeah, if only if I got a skateboard instead of a Razor scooter. Way back when. I could be an Olympian now.
Yeah, I don't
ruined my entire life.
I don't think they're going to add razor scooters anytime.
Well, that's my point exactly. So.
Well, can you not just break the handle?
It was a real sliding doors moment for me.
What if you just took the handle off?
I asked the IOC and they said no dice, Jane.
Hacksawed off the handle.
They said, sorry, ma'am, please leave.
Tony Hawk was like, get out of my office.
Luckily for you, however, there is one shining ray of hope for even the Maiden Lless. Me, Vare. Take care to listen.
When you first set foot in Elden Ring's Limgrave as an inexperienced, unskilled Tarnished, you may be tempted to attack the biggest enemy you can see, you know, to establish dominance. And that's why that's a bad idea. What you might try instead is establishing a reputation that you're not to be messed with by, for example, killing this jerk, the very first NPC who you encounter at the start of the game, who immediately starts ragging on you for not having a girlfriend.
Unfortunately for you, however, you are maidenless.
I've got a maiden. She goes to a different school in Canada. Shut up.
Maidenless runt. Who do you think I am?
While this might feel empowering in the short term, in the long term this is a terrible decision. That's because this masked a-hole is White Mask Vare, a devotee of Mohg, Lord of Blood, who has a questline for you to follow.
Oh, good heavens. Clench your teeth or something.
If you follow his questline, he will eventually give you an item called the Pure Blood Knight's Medal, which allows you to teleport to Mohgwyn Palace, home of Mohg, Lord of Blood. This is great for a number of reasons. For one, Mohg is a kick-ass boss fight, and for two, the best rune farming spot in the entire game is here, where you just wail on these poor unassuming fishmen. Okay, I deserved that. Most importantly of all, however, the room in which you fight Mohg is now, thanks to an update, the place where you begin Elden Ring's recent Shadow of the Erdtree DLC. So if you can't get over here, you also can't play the DLC you spent your hard-earned money on. There is another way of reaching Mohgwyn Palace that involves a secret hidden teleporter, but that's located in the consecrated snowfield, an endgame area you'll need to play close to 70 hours of Elden Ring to reach. So maybe next time someone calls you maidenless, just walk on by. Oh right, that's where the tree sentinel is. Just all bad decisions today.
Hello, Uncle Philip? Aunt Catherine, it's Alyssa. What was that?
If you played 1998's Clock Tower 2, The Struggle Within, then you had already screwed yourself over with the decision to play Clock Tower 2, The Struggle Within. This was the baffling point-and-click survival horror for the PlayStation 1, where puzzles were obtuse and counterintuitive even by the desperate moon logic standards of late 90s point-and-click adventure games. On the other hand, it's hard not to enjoy the bit where schoolgirl protagonist Alyssa, being stalked around a creepy murder house by a tiny child, bonks the possessed infant over the head with a big pan, and a candelabra, and a plant pot, and a backpack, before hoofing her in the face. You don't get that in The Exorcist, Did they even try hitting Regan with a backpack? But beyond your mistake in choosing to play Clock Tower 2 The Struggle Within, known in Japan as Clock Tower Ghost Head, there was one early game decision that would, unbeknownst to you at the time, lock you into the worst, most humiliating ending of the game much further down the line. In the first chapter of the game, Alyssa rocks up at her aunt and uncle's house only to find dismembered body parts all over the shop. The toilet's got a severed leg in it, and the yellow liquid sprayed everywhere is not the work of an inaccurate urinator, but what in the fullness of time is revealed to be zombie blood.
A leg. Only a leg. I wonder what this yellow liquid is.
For now, though, it is imperative that you at this point inspect the suit of samurai armor propped up by the stairs.
Yeah, how creepy.
At which point it will start chasing you around the house as if you didn't have enough problems already. Now, in the moment, it might have seemed like checking out the suit of armor was a bad decision. But if you instead chose to ignore the armor, or even chose to inspect it at a slightly different point in the game, you unknowingly screwed up your entire playthrough. Leave the armor alone, and then when you reach the final chapter of Clock Tower 2, The Struggle Within, there will come a point when your only option is to inspect a bloody puddle on the floor, and then... And that's a wrap on your playthrough of Clock Tower 2. No, really, that's game over. Please enjoy your G ending, where G stands for Gee, I guess that samurai armor finally caught up with me. And now for a final word from this guy in a demon mask.
Everyone must die.
Very nice. The struggle within? More like the struggle not to snap the disc in half.
Imagine Spelunky, but even harder and more impenetrable. Stop crying. Stop crying because you've just imagined La Mulana, which, as hard and obtuse as it is still a fun and rewarding exploratory platformer that sees you jumping, whipping, and yes, dying all over various ancient temples in search of fame, fortune, and just a moment to gather your thoughts while you aren't being attacked by bats. Believe me, however, when I say that it could be a lot worse. And it will be if you happen to activate the game's hard mode, which can be done entirely accidentally extremely early on in the game. As you start your exploring in the temples of La Mulana, you'll encounter several stone tablets, most of which contain useful information for you, such as hints, backstory about the area you're in, or intel about upcoming bosses. One particular tablet, however, when read, reveals the text, "Thou art forbidden from again laying eyes on this marker. Those who heed not this warning will suffer the pain of death." I mean, it's La Mulana. I've been suffering the pain of death pretty much constantly since I bought it, but okay. Perhaps you're curious as to what the tablet will say if you read it again. Perhaps you're thinking this might be part of a puzzle of some kind. Or perhaps you just leaned on your controller and pressed the button accidentally. Perhaps you came back here after exploring elsewhere and forgot which of the identical looking tablets this was. Whatever the circumstances, if you press the button to read the tablet again, it will call you a mongrel and tell you to taste bitter death. At which point the screen will fill with skulls and you'll notice that there are way more enemies and they're all tougher, hit harder, and are way more aggressive. Because that, dear viewer, is how you activate hard mode in La Mulana. Not through a menu, not through a conversation where someone asks you if you'd like to activate hard mode, but by reading a tablet twice with no indication as to what you're getting into. And this is irreversible, by the way, so it'll be like this for your entire playthrough. The only way to go back to normal is by restarting or loading a save. Spelunky wishes it could be this unfair.
Guide the fair Princess Elodie on her road to coronation. A studious girl who always resists the temptations of power and strives to prevent war at any cost.
In many ways, I am not a suitable candidate for Queen. I wasn't born into the royal family, I'm not really into monarchy as a concept, and my head is the wrong shape for crowns. See? Doesn't work. In other ways, though, I've been well trained for the difficulties of life in the royal court by Long Live the Queen.
She is beloved by her people, except for the assassin whose arrow punctured her lung.
Long Long Live the Queen is a visual novel life sim in which you play a young princess preparing to become ruler, developing the abilities she needs to both sit the nation's throne and, more pressingly, survive the 40 deadly weeks until her coronation.
Guide the agile Princess Elodie on her road to coronation. Easily startled and quick to dodge, she avoids snakes, magic, court, parades, and birthday parties just to be safe. Too bad about that civil war.
There are myriad opportunities to wind up assassinated on the path to becoming queen if you have failed to sufficiently level the pertinent skill, and they're not all getting shot or stabbed. Among the many fields Princess Elodie can train in is decoration. And who could blame you if you neglected this dainty skill in favour of important sounding stuff like weapon techniques and naval strategy? You know, things that sound like they might keep you alive and or able to unleash a rippling broadside into your enemies. Yet, if you decide early on in the game to downplay your decorative skill, you can make it all the way to week 32, then notice a vase of flowers in your palace contains a single shriveled bloom. With your embarrassingly underdeveloped decoration skill, you fail to clock that this wilted flower is a clue that something sinister is afoot, and you blame the staff instead. The People's Princess, everyone. Then, when your maid delivers a box of chocolates you've been sent as a gift, if you have also neglected your trade skill and courtly manners skill, and you don't have a loyal dog to protect you, you will continue to fail to notice the situation is deeply sus, and you scarf down a candy. At which point it becomes clear that you've eaten poisoned chocolate sent by your enemies, who must be honestly amazed that after failing to do a royal assassination on you for months, the box of poison candy is what finally brought you down. Meanwhile, it's game over for you, princess, doomed by your love of chocolate and ignorance of interior design. So you're saying there's a vacancy now? Oh, I can make this work. Eh? Eh?
V, can you hear me?
Loud and clear, whoever you are.
Good, it worked. My name is Somi. Just call me Songbird though.
Cyberpunk 2077's acclaimed DLC, Phantom Liberty, not only stars Idris Elba, it also costs like $30, so you'd think if you'd bought it, you'd actually want to play it. However, we are nothing if not easily distracted, so you can imagine a scenario in which we are entrusted with the time-sensitive task of saving the president by a mysterious netrunner called Songbird.
The president's life, her safety, that's your top priority. She'll survive the landing. Dogtown, not so sure. You'll need to get her out of the plane before anyone else does.
Only to get sidetracked by something else and wander off, fully intending to come back later and deal with that whole save the president thing.
I'll be right beside you, as much as I can. Doing the opposite of what I say on purpose, V? Really?
I mean, it's a video game. They're just saying time is of the essence for dramatic effect. Right?
Mother.
Not right.
Congrats, V. You just killed Rosalind Myers and the NUSA.
Yeah, it turns out the president, being in mortal peril, isn't the sort of thing you can shuffle to the bottom of your to-do list, and as a result of your lackadaisical attitude, not only is the president dead...
Your presidential rescue op. Miserable failure. Honestly though, good f***ing riddance.
But also the rest of the DLC is locked off to you for good. You can't go to your secret hideout, you can't get any of the cool new weapons, you can't see any of the exciting new story, and worst of all, you'll never get to hang out with Idris Elba.
Before we go, apologies for the precautions.
Man, that is rough. Are we still cool with Keanu Reeves?
We go on living. Start by finding us a drink.
Okay, well that's something.
In many ways, gamers are like children, curious, playful, and touching everything they can get their sticky hands on, whether it's good for them or not. So we can definitively not be blamed for ruining our entire Blair Witch playthrough mere minutes into the game before we've even left the Murder Forest parking lot and ventured into the Murder Forest.
It looks like they started without us, huh? Okay, let's get moving.
Almost as soon as you've arrived at the Black Hills Forest to join the search party for a boy who got Blair Witched last Saturday, you encounter a wooden carving that someone's popped on a fence post right there in broad daylight, in plain view of everyone at the start of the path leading onwards and into the rest of the game. What are you going to do? Not touch this thing that's sitting right there with a marker over it like it's a tutorial on how to touch things? Obviously not.
What is this?
Obviously, you're going to pick up this mysterious figurine and stick it in your backpack, because if there's anything gamers love more than touching everything that's touchable, it's collectible figurines. Now you're up one free wooden doll and down one good ending, because by touching the figurine you've irrevocably committed yourself to the bad ending of the game that you get if you, among other things, pick up any of the mysterious carvings. Oops.
Come on, Bullet. Let's go find this kid.
However you proceed to play the game, you're on a predetermined path to this ending where you kill Carver, the creepy dude covered in branches who serves the Blair Witch.
She always wanted you to become...
Stop!
And then you become the new Carver, also serving the Blair Witch, so I hope you like being covered in branches. Unless you unlock the secret good ending, in which you never leave the parking lot. Instead, you hang out with your dog and play Snake on your Nokia 3310 until you complete it. And the Blair Witch is so impressed, she surrenders to local authorities. The end.
Is your name Dante, son of Sparta?
Where did you hear that?
From your brother. He sent this invitation for you. Please accept it.
When I'm playing a video game, I don't usually expect to get screwed over by the title screen. Well, except for that Snake from Detroit Become Human.
Oops. I think your saved game is corrupted. Just kidding.
Yeah, thanks for the heart attack, Chloe. And we can add Devil May Cry 3 to that list as well, because in this 2005 hack and slasher, it is possible to make your entire playthrough significantly harder from the get-go, thanks to a confusing contextless decision you make right on the game's title screen. When starting up Devil May Cry 3, you get given a few standard options to pick from, whether to play as Dante or Virgil, whether you want tutorial tips or not, what difficulty you want to play on, and then, confusingly, you are asked yellow or gold. What do you mean, Devil May Cry 3? Which one is my favourite colour? How would I describe Margot Robbie's hair? Do I prefer songs by Coldplay or Spandau Ballet? No, what Devil May Cry 3 is actually asking you here is, what continue system would you like to use? The normal one or the brutally punishing one? That's because when you choose the gold continue scheme, when you die you can continue from the room before the one you died in. But when you choose the yellow continue option, when you die you have to start again all the way back at the beginning of the level and redo all those long difficult fights regardless of how much progress you had just made. Again, the choice is offered to you with no context whatsoever, so if, say, yellow happens to be your favourite colour, or you're a big fan of Yellow Jackets, or Yellowstone, or Old Yeller, then bad luck, your Devil May Cry 3 playthrough is going to be extremely difficult and frustrating. I mean, even more so than usual, if you can imagine.
Those were 7 times you screwed your entire playthrough with a single bad decision. I hope you're enjoying our new studio. It's like the textures finally popped in after 10 years of living in the featureless white void of nothingness.
Look at all this space.
Look at all this space. Andy can walk behind me, to the side, this side. Look, we've got more space than we know what to do with, and it's all thanks to you. So cheers. If you'd like to help us even further, you can watch this video from Outside Xbox, a classic list feature. This one will probably be against a white background, so steady yourself for the retro visual experience of that. Or this one from Outside Extra, which will undoubtedly also be against the old, hateable, detestable white background of... Hate it so much. 10 years in that void.